I mean, Uncle Drew is just the kind of movie that you know what you're getting into when you go to see it, right? I mean, you see the trailers, you know it's a movie about some basketball players in old person makeup playing in a basketball tournament. That can only be so good, you know? But even considering my relatively low expectations, I mean, I guess it met them, but I still saw a few opportunities where they could have done a little bit more, even given the concept that they had. So, I mean, the first thing is that I wasn't a huge fan of the basketball stars that they got. I mean, not that I don't like their personas that they have on TV. Well, some of them I like more than others. But it was like the commercials that these were based on was Kyrie Irving, who of course they got, but then he was joined by other current NBA players to put on the old person makeup and go out, and then they fool people because they're old and everyone's fooled, and then they ball out. But here it was, besides Kyrie Irving and then Nate Robinson, who is obviously kind of retired, but still has played relatively recently. We've got very retired NBA stars who we just make look older. And I would have liked to have seen more current NBA players, because then it kind of makes it more enjoyable at the end when they get to the basketball part of the movie, that they can get more creative with what they do, because these guys can actually still play. I feel like it would be more believable, which, I mean, it sounds weird that I'm saying anything about believability in this movie, but it becomes more believable that, hey, like, this team is destroying all these other teams at the Rucker Park tournament. Because it's like, yeah, if you take off the makeup, these are all NBA players that would probably crush here. Whereas now it's just kind of like, oh, well, yeah, Shaq's dunking on them, but that's only because they got everyone out here, going half speed, and it doesn't work for me as well, because I want to see real players doing real things when we get to the basketball part, not taking some extras we found that look kind of athletic, slow them down, and then allow these old people to do stuff. Because again, we know that they're not actually old, or as old as the makeup makes them look. So I kind of would have just maybe it doesn't make sense, but that was something that bothered me just a little bit. The thing that bothered me a lot more was obviously, this is a comedy. It doesn't take itself very seriously, which is good, because you can't do that. I mean, Kyrie actually put in like a much better performance than I thought he would. Everyone else is just kind of like, they're fine. I think, considering they're not, acting isn't their like main profession, they did pretty well, but it's nothing mind-blowing for most of the other players. The first half of the film is kind of a road trip as Uncle Drew goes around to gather his teammates, and then the last half of the movie is more basketball centered around the Rucker Park tournament, and throughout there's a lot of humor that was supposed to be funny, and I just would have appreciated it if a few more of the jokes hit for me. And again, it's like, my expectations were pretty low, but it was just the amount of jokes they were throwing at the wall. Like, the percentage that hit for me was pretty low. So, I mean, when I came out of the theater, I didn't feel like I necessarily wasted my time, but I did feel like it could have been better. I mean, even in the previews, you can see some of these jokes that just felt so forced to me, and forced to the point where they didn't even make sense. I mean, we're talking about the moment when Chris Webber takes the baby and goes behind his back, and then the guy from Get Out, that I don't feel like looking up the name of, sorry, says, he just Steph Curry Joe baby. I'm sorry, did I miss something where Steph Curry became known for doing the behind the back move? I mean, it's not like this dude invented it. I don't think he's known for having like the best one. As far as I know, Steph Curry is known for shooting threes, being really, really good, and looking like a 12-year-old. It's just like, oh, we need to put in a popular NBA player's name here. So, poof, there's that joke. And then there was another time where it was clear, hey, we need to make a Shaq free throw joke because that hasn't been done a million times. And again, in the trailer, you see Shaq right in the face to Kyrie Irving. And then Kyrie gets up and is like, that sucker punch is the first free throw you ever made. What is he even talking about? How is a punch? I didn't understand that at all. There were lots of other moments where they just made some either extremely obvious jokes that I didn't find particularly funny, or they did forced stuff like that. And there were some jokes that hit as well, and it was entertaining enough that, considering what I was getting into, I thought it was fine. They did make a Chris Webber timeout joke, which I did enjoy because it made sense in the context that they were actually playing a basketball game while talking about how many timeouts they had left. And the timeout joke doesn't get as much run as the Shaq free throw joke, which comes up every single time anyone talks about Shaq. And that was honestly done as best as it can ever be done in Scary Movie 3, so there's just no point in doing that anymore. If you see the trailers and you think it looks fun, you'll probably enjoy the movie, and I kind of enjoyed it. I couldn't help but leaving feeling like a little bit empty and some unfulfilled potential, even if the potential wasn't all that high in the first place. I feel like that's not really a rating and not really saying anything, but that's how I feel about it, and that's as best as I can communicate it right now. Hopefully in the future I'll be able to do better, but that's all I got. Sorry.